Good evening and welcome to Image Builders Presents Conversation with Michael Carson. I'm your host, Michael Carson. Thank you for tuning into our show, our 30-minute show by and for Black men. If you're watching me on Facebook, please share the broadcast, let other people know that you're tuning in. If you are watching us on YouTube, please click the subscribe button and click the bell. We need subscribers. I want subscribers. We want people to tune into the show, not just for the sake of having it, but because we brought you great content thus far. Our show is new. We have a goal by the end of April, and I know we can do it. I have a ton of people who follow me on Facebook, and if you just reach out to the people you know in your circle and say, hey, go click on this button and subscribe. If they can't watch the show, they can always watch the show later. They can always tune in live, but we want to get our viewership up. We want people to see the quality of the guests, the content that we're bringing each and every Thursday night right here as we have engaging conversations with men. And we've had women on to discuss either their brand or discuss things that are going on. Our guest tonight is running a little late. He actually has a radio show himself, so there was some overlap, and so we're getting started a little bit late. But once he comes on, then I'll bring him in once he's into the broadcast. Tonight's show, if you know anything about image builders, some years ago we started out back in 2005, December of 2005. We started out as an extension of some work that I was doing, some volunteer work that I was doing in jails and prisons. And we were able to connect with a number of individuals in the state of Illinois. We went from, let me say this first. We started out at a church with a prison ministry. And then once we transitioned from that church, we started Image Builders, and then we were doing a lot of reentry work. A lot of the work we did with the church and other people that we partnered with was more so we went into facilities and we talked to men and women and youth. After that, we focused a lot on reentry. We did some classes and things of that nature. As a matter of fact, I had a class where everyone in the class had life sentences. It was an empowerment class, and it was actually an empowerment class for men whose sentence was life. They were not getting out, no parole, no nothing. And we had about 50 people that routinely attended the class every second Saturday at Stateville Prison in Joliet, Illinois. We had a really robust class and had some really robust discussions about what it meant to be men who were not likely to ever get out, but they were able to still be a father, be a husband if their wife so choose, and make an impact even while they were incarcerated. And it was an engaging time, an awesome time. So I say all this to say, people who know me know that I've been in this work since 1998. So that's 23 years that I've been doing this work, going in and out of prisons, talking to people, youth empowerment, men, talking to men. So this particular show tonight was expected. There was a friend of mine who used to be with me, and we would go in and out. And he actually, after we left the church, after I left that particular church, he still hung with me, and he and I were, we were all over the place in Illinois. We did a lot of great things. His focus primarily was on reform. Hold on one second. Our guest is in. Let's see, Brother Walter.
Good evening, sir. How are you?
I'm doing well, man. Thank you for joining us tonight. I was just explaining to those that who are joining us or who are watching us how the work that we were doing inside the jails and prisons in Illinois, and I've done some work here in Atlanta, and I was just kind of paying homage to a good friend of mine who passed a couple years ago, Gerald Burke. He was a ride or die. He had some health challenges, but he was always inside facilities encouraging men and women and youth He was always Johnny on the spot with teaching and providing lectures and doing empowerment sessions with me. So tonight's broadcast, in part, is dedicated to him. We have a special 1 hour broadcast tonight. Once we get talking, you'll know why. I have a phenomenal guest for you tonight, whose story is phenomenal and who I consider, after reading reading what he's accomplished and what he's done, I consider him a general when it comes to the work that he's put in to save men and boys and to give back to our community. Secondly, tonight's broadcast, a copy of tonight's broadcast, so you'll hear our guest speak to these men directly, but our broadcast will be, a copy of it will be given to the Atlanta Youth Development Center, which here in Atlanta is a youth prison for boys. So we will be turning this broadcast over to them so that they can hear Brother Walter and hear what he has to say, and he can impart some words into them and give them some wisdom and give them some encouragement, and also give them some direction and instruction as well. So that's what tonight is about. So I'm going on a journey tonight. Stick with me for the full hour. For those of you that typically go over to Instagram right after, we're not doing Instagram. We're doing 1 hour here on Facebook and YouTube. So without further ado, I want to introduce author, motivational speaker, car salesman, entrepreneur, all around,
Yes.
the founder of Street Soldiers, radio personality, just a man about saving men and boys and about the business of putting in that work in that community, Brother Walter D. Smith. How are you, sir?
I'm good and I'm honored, brother, and I really appreciate the accolade. And I'll jump right in and giving homage to the brother that you mentioned. I think I've heard his name before when I was working in the systems with a high degree of regularity. But I've been on a mission for over 35 years to save our brothers. My brother got killed at age 24 in 1979. And I vowed at that time that I would do all I could to omit fratricide. Frat meaning brotherly and side meaning to kill. And fratricide is French, but brothers killing brothers. And we go all the way back to Cain and Abel in the Bible. So this is not nothing new. But I just do not feel that we in America do enough to subside or reduce the high problem that we have with fratricide. If we can at least get our brothers to stop killing one another, because we have become an endangered species. We are disenfranchised. We are nullified. We are vilified. We are ostracized. We are effeminized, and we are emasculated. There is everything that can possibly be against us is against us. So I'm glad to have this opportunity to speak, particularly to the youth that are on a vacation and are in a position to reform, rehab, and restore themselves, as Malcolm X did, as I've done, as many other people have done. Don King went to prison. We had Chester Kimes doing the black exploitation movies. Come Back Charleston Blue, he did prison time in Ohio. Now, those are brothers that did time in Ohio alone. And again, we have a society now of classism, and our own people vilify us and act as though we are unfit to even be in society and roam amongst them, so to speak. And they have taken a position that even white people don't even use with us for the most part. And that's the thing that I want us to omit. And I want to encourage every brother that's incarcerated and those that are not to be inspired by our journeys, and mine in particular.
Well, you said a lot there, and I want to dig into that. But there's something you said. You started out chapter 18 in your book, and for those of you watching, I've read. You got to get his book, Street Soldier, from the hood to the good. You start out chapter 18 by saying, "My mission in life has been to stop brothers from killing one another." But I want to go back, if you will, a little bit, and I want to take a journey through the book. I don't want to give out too much because I want people to purchase it, and I want them to read it for themselves. I like the way it's written. You kind of put the way you wrote it was such a way that you can kind of envision yourself being there with you on this journey. So I appreciate that, and that helped. That was the way I took it when I read it. So I wanted to start out talking. I wanted you to talk about in this order, your brothers, your dad and your mom?
Thank you very much. You know, that's one of the things. I don't know what I would have done without my father. 70% of homes out here anymore, males come from backgrounds where they do not have access to their fathers. And that's one of the contributing factors. But my mother and father were my foundation. They did everything that they could to provide the best for myself and my two brothers. My dad worked real hard, and my mother was a domestic engineer. Back in the day, they called them housewives. But they took very, very good care of us. My father met my mother when he was in military in Fort Polk, Louisiana. My mother was in Grambling College at the time when they met, both athletes. My mother played basketball in college, and dad played semi-pro football. And so we had a very disciplined home when we were growing up, and our parents provided very, very well. We did not know what it was like to go down the street and have that other neighbor discipline us or spank us, because yeah, they would discipline us or they would chastise us. But all they would have to do is say they was going to tell my mom and dad. And that was pretty much the extent of it, because my parents did all that they could to provide the best for us. And that's exactly what they did. Now, they were not perfect. You know, my parents were excellent from the time I was born until about the age of 12, and alcoholism permeated the family. But I wouldn't trade my father for anything in the world, because between 0 and 12, he was perfect. And again, he was the epitome of a man for me. And I always wanted my footprint to fit right in his footsteps.
So because in the book you don't really talk too much about your brothers, I was curious as to who they are and what type of relationship you had with them, because you were the middle, correct? You had an older.
Yes, I was the middle child. That's a good point. And that's for a purpose. And the main purpose, in the way that I structured the book, one of the problems that has always bothered me from a very young age, adolescent, young adult, into prison, was we always are so apathetic. We always want to blame everyone else. We always want to point the finger at somebody else when we got 4 coming back at us, 3 and a thumb. That's 4.
Right.
So yes, what I teach when I speak, when I work with youth, is I want you to always go and find the best that you can find, particularly in your mother and father. Because if we spend a lot of time talking about their deficits, then that will hold us back. So the main thing that I try to do is, first of all, paint the picture. Excellent background. My parents had their faults. My brother had his faults. All 3 of us, both of my brothers were far more intelligent than I was. Both of my brothers were more athletic than I was. My baby brother stopped me from playing basketball when I was 19 and he was 16. He said, boy, come on around here so I can wax your ass. I said, no, little bro, you still my little brother. Come on around, because you don't have to go around the block. Right. So I said, no, I'll get on. We're going to go around here and I'm going to wax your ass. My little brother spanked me, man. And that's when I said, I'll just stay in the weight room, okay? Right. Because he was gifted in basketball. My older brother was very talented. My older brother was called Dancing Greg. He was invited to audition for Soul Train. He was known for dancing. Matter of fact, my older brother got me into stripping when I was 16, not even old enough to get into clubs. And if we go back and study history, let's look at Tina Turner. Let's look at a lot of our other female artists that started singing in clubs when they was 11, 12, 13 years of age. So when I got to prison and started studying my history, I likened those experiences to those of a lot of our predecessors who made it big because at a young age, they knew that they had talent and they pursued that talent. But that was the type of home that I grew up in. All 3 of us kind of went our own separate way as we got older. You know, we were divided. You know, we did our own thing. I was always busy doing what I was doing, which was primarily selling drugs, because when the home foundation started falling apart, I had to hit the streets. And that's what so many of us fall prey to in our communities. And then when my brother got killed in 1979, and I knew, and I do talk about this in the book, I knew that Sunday night when my phone rang at about 1:30 a.m. and it was my dad's voice, I already knew what it was, because my dad never called me that time of the morning, and he did not sound that he sounded when I got the call. So as soon as I answered the phone and I heard his voice, I knew that it was pretty bad. So from that day forward, I've been dedicated to saving us from us. And here's the main reason why. Death is final. You cannot reform it. You cannot rehabilitate it. You cannot restore it. You're not going to make no more babies. You're not going to be nobody's father. You're not going to be nobody's son living anymore. It's final. So that's why I focus all of my energy is I like in everything that I do, even as a professional bodybuilder. I focus 95% on winning, and I use the other 5% to get rid of whatever chafe or waste that may come around me as a result of just living everyday life.
Now, in the book, you talk about, and I'm still in we haven't gotten to some of the other stuff we're going to talk about, but in the book, you talk about how it was important for you to, as a kid, to be cool. I mean, you had good grades, you was excelling in sports. For the most part, you know, your family was intact. You know, your dad was there. People got to read the book about when you told him you wanted to be a man. Now, I was laughing. I was laughing at how he responded to that. But you kept saying, I think you emphasized it 2 or 3 times about how it was important for you to be cool. Talk to the young men that might watch this and why.
80% of what we learn from what we see.
Yeah.
80% of what we learn from what we see. Our visual, just like all mammals, is what guide us through life. Mm-hmm. So when you look around you, you see what other people are doing. We start observing what people are doing when we're laying on our back as infants and we're smiling and we start saying goo goo da da. And the only reason we say that dad first is because it's easier to say than It takes us a while to learn or for our abilities to even say mom. So we see and we imitate, duplicate, replicate what we see. It's just that simple. 80% of what we see is what we're going to be. 70% of the time, we're going to duplicate and replicate, imitate exactly what our predecessors were. If our predecessors were alcoholic, then typically we're going to be alcoholic. If we're not going to be alcoholic, then we're going to have some other problem. That's just the way it is. I'll give another good example that I like to use when I speak. When was the last time you saw a bear walking through the woods with a 12-pack under his arm? I'll tell you this, when you do see one, I can guarantee you this. If he keep walking around with a 12-pack under his arm, what do you think the baby's going to do? The baby bear is going to put a 12-pack under his arm, and he's going to walk with a 12-pack under his arm. So, again, I'm glad you asked that because my parents raised us very well, but my father's relatives were heavy in the streets. Heavy in the streets. And Dad always told me, he said, I love those are your cousins. I want you to love them, but I do not want you to follow their lead. Now, we got to be real careful with that because even as infants, when mom tell us not to touch that stove because it's hot, what we got to do? Got to touch the stove. And that's life. So when we look at these things, this is what's so important. I want the youth to go back and look at those good qualities in our parents, because if they're dwelling on the bad qualities or if they expound on the worst, best case example that I can give is the young man whose mother was a crack addict. Well, you better thank God that she brought you in on the ship that you came in on because everything she had, she gave it to you. So yes, I was like all youth. I was impressed with my relatives. People would come to my house, my dad's friends particularly, and mom and dad didn't know at first, and they want weed. Well, they'd get me to go because my cousins had the kind of reputation where if you didn't know them, you couldn't go to the house. So at a young age, you know, I mean, I'm 14, they give me the keys to the car. And back then, you know, you want to drive. So you drive to go get the little weed. Then I get a little weed for myself, you know, and then it didn't take long before I figured it out. Then I'm like to my cousin, well, look here, why don't you just go ahead and let me get a quarter pound? Then I'll start bagging the stuff up. And that's how it started. And what my cousin should have done was said, no, cousin, we know that you're gifted with running that football. We know that you can go to the NFL. And what they should have done was guided me and pushed me into that direction. But I was too far in, or I chose. The choice was mine. The choices that we make between 12 and 19 would dictate and determine who and what we would be for the rest of our lives. But I made the choice because I wanted the things that went with it. I wanted the big car. I didn't go get own trucks now, run my own business, did over $1 million in revenue last year. I didn't think like that then. You see, I had to be cool, and being cool is being the best that you can be at whatever it is that you can do. And I was good at what I did. The positive side of that, and I want to be real careful when I say this, because I never want to glamorize the street life. But if we could teach our young males, particularly because sometimes that's the only thing that is available to us.
Yeah.
We have a lot of very prominent people that made it because of their abilities to be in the streets. The Kennedy family is the best example that I know. In Prohibition, they made their money selling bootleg liquor.
Yep.
Absolutely. O'Hara Airport, for instance. I think that's a name that came from mobsters and gangsters and what have you. So I don't want to beat us up too much, but we have to be smart enough to get in and get out and then legitimize ourselves.
Yeah, because you say in the book that you want to be cool, and that the thug life was calling you, like you just felt more comfortable doing that. And I'm like, well, wait a minute, you again, smart, grades, athletics, everything, and then the cool, and then but to your point, you said that it was your cousins who had a lot of influence on you, and some of the things it appeared like some of the things you learned from them, you brought it back to your area, and then the guys that was rolling with you, so that you could emulate that. Is that a fair assessment?
It very much so is. And to add strength to that, back in the early 70s, mid 70s, walking around with $500, $1,000 in your pocket back then.
Yeah.
Driving cars. I had my first car before I had a driver's license. Mom and dad didn't know. And when they found out, I was in trouble. Because again, I needed money. I wanted money. I saw what the money would do for the other guys around you. You know what I mean? I mean, we were not destitute in our home, but yet still, when parents went through what they were going through, things weren't happening fast enough. So at a young age, I had to get out there and hit the streets. And you bring up a point that I will talk about in the book, because showed up late for football practice one day. And I know that I'm gifted because I used to play defense. When they move you off of defense and put you on offense, it's because you have talent. I kept intercepting people on defense, and every time I did, I'd catch the ball. What would I do when I catch the ball? I run. When I ran with it, what did I do? Touchdown. Why? I was too afraid of getting hit. Ain't gonna let nobody catch me. I had that kind of talent, okay? So they put me on offense, and I was on offense just to block and get into the flat, because if they threw the ball anywhere near me, if I touched it, I caught it. And when I caught it, I ran with it. So I had that kind of talent, but I did not know. I took it for granted. No one had told me. Now, Dad had played football, but no one was saying, look, you have a future. This is what I want you to do. Cousin over here, on the other hand, look, man, if you sell this many bags, look how much money you'll have. And that's what pulled me in. So I get to football practice one day, and coach said, you late? I said, yeah, I am, coach. He said, well, you got to give me 2 laps and 100 push-ups. I said, coach, tell you what, I don't think so. Not today. He said, why not? Because I quit. And then, I got a pocket full of money. I'm grown now. I'm going to do what I want to do. But when I took that same attitude home on my 16th birthday, never will forget it. I will tell this story out of the book. On my 16th birthday, my mama going to whoop me for something. I can't remember what. But I told my mama, I said, look here, mama, today my birthday. I'm a man now. You make this your last whooping. My mama said, boy, you bring your black ass here. Don't you never tell me that I'm not going to whoop you. That wasn't the worst part. And here's where the father come in at, because dad wasn't the disciplinarian. Mother was always the disciplinarian. Mother was only 5'2", 130 pounds, always talking about she fat. Okay, mom, I accept that. Dad 6'4", 275 pounds. So my mother always told us growing up, and I never will forget it, don't let your mama call me at work telling me you done acted a fool. All my life, I'm 16 now. Mother picked up the phone. She called my dad. Then mother said, your dad want to speak to you. I grabbed the phone. Hello? You tell your mama you a man today? Yes, sir, I did. I'm whooping your ass when I get home, son. Now, when we were little, and dad would say he would whoop us when he got home because he worked 2 jobs. He would get home late at night. We would hear him come in. We'd hear him come upstairs, and he would look in on us and go carry his behind the bed because we were spoiled. You understand me? So here I am, a man. Watch this. Here I am, a man, and I done told my mama I'm a man. So I went to bed because I know dad gonna just come in and peep in and make sure I'm all right, but it didn't happen that way that night. Dad pulled the cover back and hit me upside my head. I thought I was dreaming. He said, stand up, man. I stood up. I thought it was a nightmare because he hit me again. And when he hit me the second time, I went down in the ground. He hit me straight in the jaw. And I'm laying down on the ground. And the first thought that ran through my mind, only stayed up here because it didn't come out here, said, I think I can whoop him. But I changed my mind and said, no, I'm going to lay right here. And I laid there. And son, that my father said, son, now you get upstairs and pack your stuff and you get out of my house. No, he said, as a matter of fact, get the hell out of here. Boy, I brought you in the world and I'll kill you. He didn't say I'll take you out. No. He said, I brought you in the world. I'll kill you. Get the hell out of my house, son. That was it for me.
And I know, and you saying there how your mom was like,
oh yeah,
no, she was like, no, he ain't going nowhere. Just take these and you know and be done with it.
That's right.
So I'm gonna fast forward a lot, but for the audience, you got to get this book. For those of you that is just joining us, I'm here with author, motivational speaker, world-class bodybuilder, Walter Smith. His book, From the Hood to the Good, Street Fighters. You got to get that book. But we're taking a journey through his life and to this point where we want to spend a lot of time on the back end talking about what he's doing now and how he's making an impact. So interestingly, in the book, you go from smoking to marijuana to distributing cocaine, and then you say in there you break one of the rules that Sosa tells Tony and Scarface is not to use your own product. So you start using your own product. You become addicted. The interesting part, you were I saw you say in there you were playing Jesus at a church while still selling, while still doing drugs, but you were still excelling throughout all this process. So throughout all these years, you get jobs, you're a car salesman, making money, but you became more and more addicted to drugs, such that you started freebasing, and then you started robbing stores. So,
I want to go back I want to go back because, as you said, multi-talented. You know, I've never been one to fluff my own feathers, but now at the age of 63, I've been getting up there a little bit. I can look back now and can say these things because I want to help the youth. If you got talent, you better zero in on one of them. It was little that I could not. It was little of anything that if I wanted to do it, I could not do it successfully. So yes, I left Kansas City after my brother got killed. I joined the church. I confided in my pastor. I bore my soul to him. I promised mother I would never sell drugs again. I joined the church choir, had 2 good jobs. I'm doing good for myself. And, you know, I want to make my life right. I mean, I grew up in the church like most of us did. My family still have a church down in Gloucester, Louisiana, a cemetery. My great-great-granddad started that church, and we still have family members preaching in the church. So I come from, you know, that type of spiritual background. So my place was in the church. And then one of the members asked me to be in the Easter play, and he wanted me to play Jesus. Well, again, I'm new in the church, so, you know, I'm a dope dealer. He wanted to come to my house and work with me to help me get my lines right, because as Jesus in a play that's 16 scenes, I'm in 14 out of 16 scenes. Not only do I need to know my lines, I need to know everybody else's lines. So I had to confide in him. I said, look, brother, if you're going to be coming up in my house, first of all, I may not be the right one for Jesus. He said, why not? I said, because, man, I'm going to be honest with you. I sell drugs. I ain't got nothing to do with that. You still going to play Jesus, okay? And so I did. I had that type of talent. I played the part. I enjoyed playing it 2 years in a row. And that was the high point on that end of it. But then when I was working, you know, and I'm trying to do the right thing, a good friend of mine came over and asked me to go in on a ½ ounce of marijuana, smoke the whole joint. I said, is this the best weed y'all got in Columbus? She said, yes. I said, now if you got to smoke the whole damn joint, it ain't, you know, because in Kansas City, you hit it one time and you're all right. So that light went off in my head again. Went back to Kansas City. And I kept going back and forth until I went back and picked up my last 25 pounds. I'm back on in Columbus. I blew the city up. I had 10 people beneath me. We made money, and we ran a very, very lucrative business back in the day. Not again on the Rick Ross level or anything like that, because we were exclusively marijuana. I was a connoisseur. Helped a lot of people make good money. Everything that goes up must come down. And if you play with rough stuff, you're going to go up high, but you're going to hit rough stuff coming down. So yes, I was a health enthusiast. I was a bodybuilder. I really didn't smoke a lot of weed. I didn't drink a lot. I made money. Then I want to make more money. The only movie I ever went to by myself was to see Scarface. I went with my girlfriend. I went back and watched it again. See, again, we're impressed by these things, man. And it's a lot of good stuff out here in retrospect. I wish I had went to the NFL. I wish I had been a building engineer or a structural engineer. I wish I had been a heart surgeon, because I'm intrigued by stuff like that. I consider myself to be an okay mechanic. Well, I think that doctors are mechanics too. It's just that they're dealing with the human anatomy and biology and life. And I feel that I had the intellectual ability after prison. Now we're going to get there, because that's where I truly found myself. But yes, man, I was really intrigued with the street life. I got to Columbus. It was kind of green. I turned it upside down, selling marijuana. You know, I was known for having some of the best weed in the city. I was still in the church because I was trying to live right. And I must say too, now, most of my business people, everyday people, like a good, weed is legal now, for God's sake. It's no secret. And back in the day, you know what I mean? It should have been legal then, but it wasn't. It was against the law then. But a lot of good people smoked weed, and I catered to those good people who did not want to be seen going to the typical dope house. That was the business that I ran. But then I started running around with people that started getting involved with the cocaine and started freebasing. I went through the freebasing thing at the same time that Richard Pryor went through freebasing and set himself on fire. And it seemed like overnight, man, I went through $100,000 cocaine addiction. It was only for a small period of time, over about a 6-month period, and ruined my life just that quick.
Yes. So I want to read an excerpt from the book, if you allow me. It's where you was robbing, you had hit your bottom, and and it's the one you say is a blessing in disguise. You had hit your bottom, you went into to rob a store while in a company car, and then you write in the book. For those of you watching, he writes in the book, when I attempted to drive off, the officer quickly moved to block me in. Jumping out of his car, he zoomed in on me with his riot gun drawn. He took aim, shielding himself behind the door. Place your hands on the steering wheel. Keep your hands where I can see them. Small in stature, it was clear to me that the officer was green. His hands and his gun he held were shaking like a leaf on a tree. The newbie looked to be fresh out of the police academy. The other cars began rolling down on me, surrounded. The jig is up. Get out of the car slowly. Keep your hands up where I can see them. Another officer yelled. Riot guns pointed at me. These officers were ready to take me out. Numb from the cocaine, my mind was in a fog and my body tired from chasing the high. I had no problem complying. Lie face down on the ground and don't move, the arresting officer ordered. One of the officers had his foot on my ankle. Another one had his foot on my wrist, and the arresting officer had his foot on my neck. Obviously afraid, he placed the barrel of the weapon against my head. He could have cared less about me, my face being pressed to the hot, sticky summer asphalt. Without hesitation, I did just as I had been ordered. Look at the arms on this nigga. What joint have you been in? An officer growled. Another said, if you move one muscle, nigga, I'll blow your brains out. The universe was providing me with the perfect death by cop opportunity. All I had to do was get up and run. Cops have a history of shooting black men in the back. Surprising myself, I realized that I did not want to die. I wasn't as suicidal as I thought. I didn't move. And you talk about, and then you go on there and said, this was another brush with death and a blessing in disguise. Now I want to live.
I'm so glad
transformation.
I'm so glad that you shared that. And this is 1985, brother.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that you're doing this interview, because every Negro that has a media post in America, I done called them.
Yeah.
Because what you just read, and this book is, I think, written on a 6th grade level, but specifically to save our sons, our males. Yeah. The best thing ever happened to me in my life was when that cop had me down on that ground, shaking like a leaf. Nigga, you move one muscle, I'll blow your brains out. This is the problem we have in this country with all these police shootings. And this is what the so-called black leaders don't want to talk about, because they waiting on the next one and the next one and the next one and the next one. And a brother on Sirius just did a show dealing with that element. They're not trying to stop us from getting killed by cops, because it's very, very profitable. If it don't bleed, it does not lead. So I'm so glad that you said it, but I didn't know all that then. All I know is I had been suicidal. I had had a 357 up to my head. And my dog looked at me, and this is all in the book. And my dog said, "Come on, man, you ain't going out like that, is you?"
Yeah.
If something happened to me, if something happened to you, who the hell gonna take care of me? That's my dog talking to me.
Yeah.
And he gave me that look, man, and I took the gun down. Can't do this. But I'm gonna keep getting high until I get caught or killed. It doesn't matter to me, because I can't stop. I had tried to get drug treatment, called the treatment people. I need help. Well, Mr. Smith, do you have insurance? No. Well, Mr. Smith, how much is your drug problem a day? $500 a day. Well, Mr. Smith, if you quit getting high for 10 days, guess how much money you'd have? Bitch, if I could quit getting high for 10 days, I wouldn't be calling your punk ass.
Yeah, I heard you. I was that was another poignant part in the book too.
Yeah, so I'm gonna keep robbing people. Not that I want to, but I'm addicted to cocaine. It grows inside of you. It pulls you in. You can't escape it. Well, I'm not going to say you can't, but it becomes highly improbable. Words I learned in the joint. But it becomes highly improbable that you're going to escape this madness out here, because we're running from stuff that hurts on the inside, which comes all the way from slavery, because we do not know our history. So when that cop had me down on the ground, all this stuff flashed in front of me. I'm going to prison for something I didn't do, but I got to go because I can't stop doing the cocaine. And I don't want them to shoot me, because my parents always told me cops would shoot you. So the point that I want to make, because these other Negroes out here, because we don't want to get rid of these words because they fit some of us, should be all over television with all the successes that I've had. We do not tell. We watch these brothers get killed. We watch them turn around and run. We watch them talk back to cops. Then when I say on social media that we should just capitulate, surrender yourself, and don't say nothing, because I had to take care of my mother. And if your ego get in the way and you just got to say something to that cop and let them go ahead and kill you, then you might not get all these so-called leaders out here to come out here to make money on you when you're dead. You might not get that. Then your ass is dead, because death is final. There is no return from death. You're not going to have no more babies. You're not going to be able to take care of your mother. So yes, when I laid down on that ground, and by the way, yes, I was #1 salesman at the car dealership. I'm driving a brand new car. I outsold everybody. And every time I got my paycheck, I went straight to the cocaine man. But when they laid me down on the ground, I realized I wasn't as suicidal as I thought, because they had told me, you move one muscle, I'll blow you away. And won't nobody let me, but you, people like you, my brother, let me tell this story, because this book should be in every school in America. Every young black man ought to read it, because it's written for them to be able to read it. And I don't care if they claim that they're illiterate. Damn it, they can still read the book, because it's written on a 6th grade level. And if you keep practicing at it, you'll figure it out. I'll guarantee it. But yes, when they laid me down on that ground, my brother, I knew I had another chance. And I thought to myself, how fast can you get those cuffs on me? Then they told me to get on my knees and put my hands behind my head. I kept laying there. They said, did you hear what we said? Sir, you just told me 5 minutes ago, if I move one muscle, you was going to blow my brains out. If you want me to get up, you pick me up. So my message to these brothers, when you know you're guilty, the police ride down on you, shut the hell up. Show me how tough your ass is then, because they got all that firepower on their hip. And they more scared of you with a gun than you are of them when they got one. And if you give them a chance to shoot you, roll your dice, because they will shoot you. No, you go to prison and get you some rest. And then when you get there, you pick up a book. Reading will teach you anything you want to know and take you anywhere you want to go. You take care of your body and you exercise your brain. I guarantee you, if you do both of those, if you get up and read an hour every day, like my mother made us do when we were growing up, because that's where I got that from. And then I'll go work out for an hour every day, first workout, April 26, 1986 in prison. Last workout, October 24th, 1996 in prison. Every workout I ever did was in writing. 5 months later, I stepped up on the stage and won a contest. I'm an entrepreneur. I have 8 to 10 people to get paid. I provide employment for it now. That should be all over the news for a former felon. But they're not trying to show that because we have Negroes now who benefit greatly every time one of us get killed by cops and they make all the national news. If it don't bleed, it don't lead. The ratings go up. They don't see news. I'm getting on the road here. I'm sorry. But you don't see them coming on TV telling about the babies that have got a 4.0 GPA or talking about like my daughter who just won a track championship. They don't put that on the news because it doesn't make the ratings go up. What make the ratings go up is racism and black men getting killed by cops. A whole lot of people make money on it. So when you done wrong, you lay your butt down. Watch this. If you haven't done wrong and the police walk down on you, you shut the hell up. You remember their badge number. You remember their name. You remember the name on a police car. I would rather be tried by 12 than carried by 6.
Yeah.
Then you go to court. Call me. I help you figure out the rest. And yes, I am a lawyer. I just haven't been to these people's university to get my degree because I don't need them to define me. I define myself.
Yeah. I mean, so here we are. For those of you joining us tonight, we're on what is supposed to be an hour long, but we're most likely going to go over an hour if Brother Walter has time.
Sure.
We're just discussing his life story from the hood to the good, street soldiers. I'm excited to have him here tonight. So we talked about his upbringing. We talked about his childhood and where we are now is really at the point of so many of you probably have heard his story before. Some of you may not have, but he was arrested and given, I think, probably 5 years or so, or I think that's what you said the sentence was. Yeah, for robbery. But like they do most often, when you don't have the money for an attorney, and you're a black man and you don't know the legal system and you don't understand what's going on, they try to lump other things on top of that. And this was your case, Brother Walter. I'll let you explain.
I appreciate it. And again, brother, this is the way the flow should go. I mean, buy the book. I'm all right, family. Yeah. I donate more than I ever make money on because that's my mission. And that's what an entrepreneur is supposed to do. I'm not begging nobody for a job. Never have, never will. As long as God put breath in me. But yes, for me, got myself in a predicament to get myself together in prison when I did that robbery. Went straight to the joint and went before the judge after I became a suspect for rape because I was sentenced 625 for the robbery. I was supposed to have received drug treatment in lieu of conviction pursuant to Ohio Revised Code 510452. It's a statute, 510452, I believe is what it was, 20 years, 30 years ago. She used to remember that stuff. But anyway, instead of them giving me drug treatment, which I qualified for, I had no juvenile record. I was gainfully employed. My company came to court or spoke on my behalf in court for me to still have my job if they gave me probation. A good friend of mine, JB, Jim Bellard, he got me drug treatment. And I was scheduled and had a bed to go get drug treatment. But now I'm a suspect for rape. And that's when I realized I must be a whole lot more intelligent than I really am. Because why else would they hit me with all these rapes? Why won't they let me go get treatment and let me return to my community? Because I'd be more of an asset to not only society, I mean my family, but to society entirely if they get me just a little help. Now, you know, we got drug courts now because white people get addicted to serious drugs, and I'm all for that. But we've been having problems with the judicial system and drugs for centuries.
Yeah.
In America, period. Alcoholism, all throughout our generations. So yes, brother, I end up putting myself in a position where they arrested me. That was the last robbery I did. The guy would not give me no money. I didn't know nothing about robbing nobody. I did not have I had took the clip out the gun. That's why he wouldn't give me no money. I didn't want to hurt nobody. I'm twisted in my thinking. I just wanted more cocaine. But yes, when they took me into the system, the first thing I did was picked up a book. And I started educating myself and taking care of myself. And I'm so grateful that you've set this up the way that you have, because the nuggets that I just gave, and I got to go back and revisit that because no one is saying this. And I get tired of calling in on radio shows and then they scream me, but they won't take my call. And I used to do radio, so I know they only have so many lines. At most, they may have 8, maybe 10. But I know I call in because as soon as they say what the topic, I should be in the first 5 on calls. Because when I did radio, you know, when you hit a hot topic, those phones light up. So, you know, I keep getting put off, keep getting put off and keep getting put off and keep getting put off because when they screen you, well, I mean, I got the solution to why brothers is getting killed by these cops out here. You understand me? Yes, that's what I went through that for, my brother. I laid down, I experienced it. God gave me everything that I needed to come out here and serve a purpose to save these brothers, and it's in writing. Reading will teach you anything you want to know and take you anywhere you want to go. And those brothers that are in prison, you plan your work and work your plan. Then you go get encyclopedias, you go get dictionaries. Now watch this. Now I move into prison. The staff got behind everything I did. Yeah. And they also helped mold me in there.
And you know what? That was the thing that I found interesting about your story. And I still find it interesting about your story that no matter how, you know, you talked about getting high and then falling back down each time. And this is just me. I believe God had favor on you because you were incarcerated. Then you go before the court. Then all of a sudden you have rape charges, supposedly raping 3 white women. 2 of them, they kept on you. 1 of them, they couldn't, you know, you weren't guilty of that particular one. But even then, you took a step, and as you were taking a step, God was providing people to help you. So you started helping people with their court cases in the law library, and as a result, you started getting help. You started getting the things you needed from people that wanted to help you. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, man. Again, that's very, very important. Soon as I got into the system, well, first of all, when I did the robbery, and they were not going to get me treatment in lieu of conviction. Then my attorney called me and had me put in a lineup, you know, because they're telling me now, no, the detective came over to see me one night. And this is all strategic, by the way. When detectives come to the jail and they get you out of your cell at 1 o'clock in the morning, the first thing everybody think in the cell that you selling with is that you're a snitch, that you've called the police to tell on somebody because you've been in jail long enough to hear guys talk about their cases. And everybody know when them detectives show up late at night, and I learned that as soon as I went to jail, why you coming to see me at 1 o'clock? Well, it was 3rd shift cop, but why you wait till 1 o'clock in the morning? Because everybody know when they call you out of that cell, you telling on somebody. So they came and asked me, they said, Mr. Smith, you know anything about any dead bodies? I said, no. You know anything about any murders? I said, no. You know anything about any rapes? I said, sir, I don't know nothing about none of that. I'm in here for robbery, and that's all I did. Now, they had already tried to get me to snitch on people in the drug business. And I told them, man, I was a solo act. I didn't know nobody in the business. I would always go on a corner. They said, what corner? I can't remember. You don't remember what part of the city it was in? No, sir, I do not. All I know is that's where they sold drugs. I cannot remember. But anyway, they came back and said, you know anything about any dead bodies? You know anything about any murders? You know anything about rape? So I don't know nothing about none of that. Well, you're a suspect. A suspect for what, officer? The suspect for rape. I said, come on, man. Don't even try it. Not only did I rob somebody, not only did I use drugs, but I certainly haven't raped anybody. It's not in my spirit. It's not in my DNA. But don't even try it. So, yes, I was indicted on January 31st, 1986. I went to trial on my birthday. Come on, man. Yeah. Are we going to get this Negro something that he'll never forget for the rest of his life? Why are you going to have my trial on my birthday?
Yeah.
The first one was scheduled on my son's birthday.
Son's birthday, yeah.
Then they moved it from my son's birthday to my birthday. These some wicked people out here, man. And then our people won't tell our stories when they get in the position to do so when we have those type of things that we're dealing with. But anyway, I went to trial on my birthday, December 15th, 1986. And then 4 days later, I went and was sentenced. Now, when I left my cell, I left smoking a cigarette and drinking coffee. Then when I went to be sentenced, judge told me to stand up. Mr. Smith, I hereby sentence you 6 to 25 for the robbery you did. Bailiff, how much time did you get on these rapes? No. He said, I sentence you 78 to 190 years for rape.
Right.
Bailiff, how much time did you get on that armed robbery? 6 to 25. Mr. Smith, I sentence you 84 to 216 years in prison. Carry your ass to prison and take good care of yourself. Did you see what I just did?
Yeah.
As soon as I got my transcript, because he said, carry your ass to prison and take good care of yourself. You hear? Now, my intuition told me you can't say that because I didn't know a lot about the law at that time. But my gut said, get the transcript, because how you gonna tell me to go to prison, take good care, carry your ass to prison, take good care of yourself? It ain't in the transcript. It wasn't in the transcript. He sent his signal to the stenographer, which means don't put that in there.
Right.
So I know what I'm dealing with now. I cried like a baby when they sentenced me 6 to 25 for robbery because I hurt my aunt, because I live in Columbus now. I hurt my uncle, I hurt my cousins, and I broke my mother's heart. Hurt my dad because at that time he was still alive. Hurt everybody because I'm the first one to go to penitentiary like that. Okay. Yeah. So then when they sentenced me 84 to 216 on December 19th, he said, now you carry your ass to prison, take damn care of yourself, and you hear? I went back to the cell and the brothers was handing me my cup of coffee and my cigarettes, and that was it for me. The last time I ever smoked a cigarette in my life was December 19th, 1986. The last time I used drugs was July 18th, 1985, when I got arrested for cocaine. I've been clean ever since.
Yeah.
Yes, so soon as I got to prison, my brother, picked up a book. They say if you want to hide something from a black man, put it in a book. I was looking for a book, don't have one, but this will paraphrase for a book.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I did with my daughters, man, and I'm going to drop this nugget because I've done it a few times. I did it with one of my daughters. My daughter asked me something about a scripture in the Bible. So I told her where it was at. Put a $50 bill in there. I ain't said nothing to her. And I waited. And I waited. And I waited. We talked about that topic again. I said, well, baby, did you read the Bible? She said, no, Dad, I didn't read the Bible. Well, you ought to read the Bible. She came back with a big old smile on her face. We need to read. I can say it over and over and over because it exercises the brain. It creates discipline. It's not expensive to do. It's a discipline. So we just teach our babies to read. And when I got in jail, I picked up everything in the county jail. As soon as I got to prison, I studied the Constitution. One of the ones that brought the 13th Amendment back out here before they made the movie about 13, because I'm out here speaking, talking about it when I got out of prison. Yeah, everybody else gonna make a movie. They get all the accolades, but they don't invite us to be in the movie. Because as soon as I got to prison, some young brothers in there telling me I thought I knew everything coming in there. I was 28, they 18, 19. You know so much. What's 13th Amendment of the Constitution, 1986? I have no idea. All right, well, Brother Smitty, you go and learn that before you come and trying to tell us what to do, slave. You're a slave.
Yeah.
Because when they lock your ass back up in here, that's what you are. So don't you come in here off the streets thinking you're going to tell us what to do. Yeah. And we've been in here for 5 and 6 years. These are little scholars now. And that's what turned me around in the joint. And brothers took me to the 13th Amendment. And it says that you free in America unless you get back locked up.
Locked up, yeah.
Because then you become a slave again, nigga. Yeah. Didn't want to be no slave no more. So I opened up a book.
Wow. And you, again, your journey from there to wanting your DNA, you know, it's like, wait a minute, our DNA don't match. This doesn't work. This isn't right. No one wants to hear it. No one wants to listen to you. And it wasn't until you reached out to some reporters, I believe, and they came and spoke with you and started looking into your story, and then started telling your story. Talk about that process, and then what ultimately led you out of prison for the crime you did not commit.
Yes, Jerry Revish, WBNS 10 TV News, an anchor. They're 35 years. He retired last year. He's a pastor now. It's the only person that believed in me. I realized I was intelligent when I got to prison. And I don't hold back in saying that because I want to encourage brothers. You find out what you're good at and you let the world know so you can move that and maneuver your way through life. So yes, I hit the books real hard. The first book that I touched in the law library in prison. I'll go back and paint this one before I get to Jerry. But the first book I ever touched, man, first book in the law library, just thumbing through it. I ran across a case called State versus Aponovich. It was a Ohio State Supreme Court case, a murder rape case. And a judge who dissented with the other judges 5 judges in the state Supreme Court of Ohio. And one judge who dissented with the other judges, he wrote his own separate dissent. He said, all the elements of murder have been proven, but we failed to prove that the perpetrator of the crime of murder is also the depositor of the semen that was retracted from the vaginal cavity of the victim. He said, we have 6 different tests that we could run on the semen samples that were taken out of the vaginal cavity of the victim. It could have been deposited by her boyfriend or someone else that she knows. Semen can live in the vaginal cavity up to 48 hours, 72 hours. He said we could have run all these different tests, and the 6th test was called deoxyribonucleic acid, DNA. I discovered DNA in 1986. I'm the first person in prison to file a formal motion asking for DNA in the United States. Then I saw 2020 with Hugh Downs and Barbara Walters. They did a story on 2020 about 6 months later, and they talked about a football player at Florida State University. Well, they talked about someone doing burglaries in the rich homes down in Florida. 6 months later, they said, we think we got the person who was breaking into these homes. It's an athlete, Florida State University, because when he broke into one of the homes, he broke in and cut himself, O.J. Simpson, something that nobody in the media never talked about. I'm getting ahead of myself. O.J. made one mistake when he killed that woman and that man. He cut himself. Won't nobody interview me to talk about that. We waiting in prison because we studying DNA in there, the scholars, the giant brains in there that took me off of filing 19 arguments in the Supreme Court. And the brother who's a lawyer practicing law in Ohio, the only person that went to prison as a felon, got out of prison past the Ohio State Bar, and is now a practicing attorney in Ohio. And I should have followed in his steps, but I had other stuff to do, want to make more money, and that's what I do. But anyway, the brother said, Walter, if you're innocent, you only need one argument. And we zeroed in on DNA. But I read that book. It was in the book, State versus Aponovich. I opened up that book just like my daughter, when she opened up that Bible and that $50 bill was in there. I opened up the book, and there's my freedom. So I know I'm going to get out.
Right.
But they denied me 9 times over 8 years. And then I met Jerry Revish. And Jerry Revish came to see me, flew down on a helicopter, TV station, got a helicopter, and prison staff, because I know it takes an hour and a half to get there. And prison officials called me and said, well, you got a media person coming down to see you. I want to go back and get tight. And they said, we'll be here in 20 minutes. How you going to get from Columbus in 20 minutes? He's coming down on a helicopter. Okay. Right. So he come down to the prison in a helicopter. I laid all my facts down with him, and it's in a clip. I don't know if I sent it to you, but I sent it because he has that part in there where I laid everything out. I said, look, man, the rapist was supposed to have had a beard. I didn't wear a beard on the line. I didn't grow my beard until I got locked up, and they put me in a lineup. It was suspect. You know, I was the biggest guy in the lineup, and they had the girls looking for someone big. So yes, the one person who believed in me, I wrote more than 500 attorneys before I found one to say yes. I wrote the media over 500 times because my background in business is marketing. Right. That's how I did my speaking business successfully. We stuffed envelopes. We kept mail outs, ran that business very successfully for about 8 straight years. A lot of people, I had about 4 people that worked with me just stuffing envelopes. That's all they did, because that's how I made my money, marketing. So yes, Jerry Revish came down, and when he looked at my evidence, he simply told me in 1989 that he would get me out, and he stayed with me. He discovered that they had samples available and went and retrieved those samples and arranged with the prosecutor, Mike Miller, Republican prosecutor who I voted for in 1980, ironically. And he asked Mike Miller at that time, who was a retired prosecutor, because the courts kept denying me, and his subordinate prosecutor said, no, we're not going to let him have the samples. Why not? Because he's guilty. Well, if you say he's guilty, the man says he's innocent, let's let him have the samples. The subordinate said, no, we're not going to let him. And the chief prosecutor said, we're going to let him have the samples. I'll run this. And that's how I got out. Jerry Revish asked Michael Miller as a personal favor to him. Now, the court ain't did a damn thing for me.
Right.
One man asked another man, turn over the samples. Let the samples tell the story. My mother gave me the $5,000 to pay for the DNA. When the DNA test come back, they still didn't let me go.
Right.
Now they want to run a test. Now I violate my constitutional rights because I kept asking them to pay for the test. They wouldn't pay for it. Our system is jacked up. 9 times you should file. I'm innocent. I said the rapist was 5'11", 6'1", 6'3" tall. I've been 5'8.5" all my life. I ain't never been tall. I would have been 5'11" because I would have won at least 5 more bodybuilding titles if I was, because I could have put on more mass, you see.
Yeah.
But anyway, they wouldn't give me justice. They still give me justice. If it were not for this one man who was God sent, a guardian angel, Jerry Revish, media person, who believed in me, that's how I got out, because ain't nobody else gave a damn other than my mother, pretty much. Nobody cared about me. And that's what we do to our people. When we make a mistake, we hold our heads down in shame instead of loving our babies anyway. Now, if we go and study our history, we'll understand why we go through the things that we go through, but we don't know our history. And that's something else that we need to do in our communities.
Yeah, and the book is a lot of the latter part of the book. You talk about that, and I'm not going to go into that, but we're already past our 1 hour. I want to spend as much time as you have to talk about street soldiers and your I mean, because you have so many different names in here. I was trying to follow the Men for the Movement, street soldiers. You had the Power Hour. You guys took you took the opportunity with a radio platform to help reduce the homicides in your community, and then got the people behind you to say, hey, that these guys are someone who really care about the community and we trust them. Talk about choices, if you will, because I was interested in that a little bit more. Talk about what choices meant and why choices and why you went with that as a program.
That's a good point. And again, man, stellar performance for you, brother, because all these are the things that I done wrote people in relentlessly, man, saying, put me in a position to speak to these brothers in Baltimore, Maryland, St. Louis, Philadelphia, Columbus, Ohio, Cincinnati, wherever those homicides go up at, Chicago, the next mayor. I call all these cities. They want it to stop, they would call me, but they don't want it to stop. And you listen good, my brother and audience. The reason brothers stop killing each other, I will tell you why. And we had a black mayor who called me to come to a symposium, Mayor Michael B. Coleman. Because when I got out, I would always send him all these reference letters that I get from all over the country. People buy the book. I got some of my best references in the front. I'm more qualified than a whole lot of people to get hundreds of thousands of dollars out here to allegedly fix problems in our community. Match your record to mine. Now, I got letters from Alaska to Florida, Connecticut to California. If you want somebody to reach your babies, this is the man for the job. And 90% of those are white people, because that's where my income comes from, because we suffer from classism in our own community, because our people that get in good positions that could help a brother like me, as W.B. Du Bois said, reach back and pull one with you. You know, one of us can take 1,000 flight, 2 take 10. Oh no, our people push us back rhetorically, not everybody, but rhetorically. And here's how we reduce the homicide. Mayor asked me to come to the meeting. Went to the meeting. Got up and spoke. I said, give me 7 minutes to speak. Y'all talk, I do. Y'all talk, I do. Give me 7 minutes to speak. I got up and had my 7 minutes. Radio personality was there. You need to be on radio. And here's how I reduce the homicide. Simple stuff. If they really want us to stop killing each other, give us a voice out here. A former felon. Because I come on the radio every Sunday night. This is your host coming at you every Sunday night from 7 to 9 with the most. Got some problems in our community that we're going to fix. If a Negro owe you $1,000 for a dope deal went bad, don't kill his punk ass. Get your money, man. I know what I'm talking about. I used to sell drugs. I became addicted to cocaine. I went to the penitentiary. I've been suicidal. I did an armed robbery. They wrongfully convicted me for rape. And here I am on radio. Call another brother and tell him to listen to a brother. Stop killing each other, because who's going to take care of your mother? That's how we stop brothers from killing each other, because these so-called leaders out here don't give a damn about us, and they know that, so they don't pay them no mind. So you give a brother like me a voice. That's all they got to do. And I'm talking about people that got prominent media sources out here. If they wanted us to stop killing one another, because I got on the radio practically every Sunday with another felon, my partner Cecil Ahad with Men for the Movement. Then we hit the streets and we walking through the neighborhood. And then me and the brother, we would find the gangsters because we from the streets. So me and him, we just get in the car, we go out and find them. And we see they rides out, we walk up on them. That's some dangerous stuff. But we walk up on them and we say, we all street soldiers. Oh, nigga, we dig you, man. I don't even carry my gun no more, man. I leave that shit at home. That's what it takes to stop brothers from killing each other. Because the people that talk about all this, they get the check. And the ones that get the call to make all the money, the real gangsters, and the ones out here with them heaters, they don't pay them people no mind because them people don't pay them no mind. So when somebody had the heart like our mayor did, and I sometimes don't believe he thought I would reduce the homicides. So what me and Brother Cecil did, when we got the call to go on radio, the first thing we did, because I learned again from my dad first, but I augmented it when I got to prison. Plan your work and work your plan. Read, do some research, put it in writing, and then you go to work. Whatever it is, I'm coming out of here. Ain't nobody gonna stop me. I'm gonna work out and I'm gonna read and I'm gonna study. And when I get out, I'm gonna stop brothers from killing each other because another brother killed my brother. I gotta do it, and I'm the man for the job. So when my mayor gave me that position, what Brother Cecil and I did, we met up and we studied the homicides. We went back to the year of 2000 because we were looking for the lowest number we could find. So when we started looking, the year that the mayor called for the symposium, 104 got killed. The year before that, another 104. The year before that, 112. The year before that, 89. In the year of 2001 and 2000, 80 people. So when we found the number 80, watch this, it's in the book. It's right there. But everybody can't be Michael Jordan. You got 500 NBA basketball players in the NBA, and you can put any 5 of them together, and they may win a championship. But if you put 4 of them with Michael Jordan and LeBron James, guess what? I'm the LeBron James, Michael Jordan of reaching thugs, man. So when me and Brother Cecil went back and found the lowest number, we come on the radio again. Street soldiers. Then I gave a nigga that's out of the streets a radio show. And the gangsters is calling other gangsters. Y'all hear the nigga on the radio talking shit, man. Because that's what they would say when we go in the club. They come and hug us because we are disenfranchised. We are ostracized. We are vilified. We are rejected. No one give a damn about us. And it's our own people that put their foot, they think, on our neck. But you can't stop me because I've been a businessman all my life. You can't do nothing for me but give me a piece of your pie. Give me your medium and let me speak to them brothers up in Chicago that's out there killing. And we ain't going to save all of them, just like Moses. Moses didn't even go into the promised land. Joshua went in. They had to kill off all them old heads. So we're not going to save all the brothers that's out here killing one another. Some of them got to kill each other. We're going to let them do that. But then there's some of them, man, they'll put them guns up, and I'm going to tell you why. The last 6 years of my mother's life, 18 emergency runs. 18. I had to clean her, had to bathe her, had to cut her toenails, her fingernails. She had dementia. And sometimes my mother would look at me when I'm taking care of her, man, and in her eyes, I'm saying that she's saying to herself, I'm so glad I have you for my son. But my mother had told me when she was in her right mind, whatever you do, son, don't let nobody put me in one of them places when I was a young man. So when I went to prison, I got to get out of here and take care of myself. So that's the stuff that I brought to the radio. Brothers, if you're out here in the streets, and I'm speaking to the brothers in the joint now, who gonna take care of your mother? You get yourself together. You pick up a book and put that gun down. Get yourself educated. Because the biggest weapon that we can use against any opposition or anybody that don't give a damn out here is education. So we succeeded at that. Absolutely. So Jerry Revich got me out of the joint, man. 5 months later, I went and won me a bodybuilding competition. Started up my little business, had a little job for $8.50 an hour. I was cool with that because all I wanted to do was win a couple of bodybuilding competitions, won a few competitions. Now I put my package together. All you got to do is win something. So I went back to my marketing, started mailing out my brochures with my cover letter. And every time I got done speaking, I'm giving up some good stuff here. I'd ask the people when I'm done if I did a good job. Now, if I didn't, you can still write, tell people that I did a horrible job. But if I really did a good job, just write me out a couple of lines and tell the people what I did. And when you have a police officer, because I had that happen in Chicago, thought that he was offended by stuff that I said, because I don't go real hard with babies. I use choice words, but all of them are in the Bible: ASS, DAMN, and HELL, and all of them in the book of Matthew, every last one of them. And Jesus wasn't no punk, by the way, either. We had to
No.
be tough to do the work Jesus was doing. All
Yeah.
right. But
Yeah.
anyway, I used some choice words, and police officer in Chicago said, have Mr. Smith come to my office. Said, man, listen, I've been doing this work for over 30 years. And I ain't never seen nobody have an assembly where everybody was as quiet as they were. And one more thing, brother, you got me on the roll now. I did over 500 middle schools. And when I end my presentation, I would ask the babies, after hearing Mr. Smith's story, who's going to smoke cigarettes when you leave today? Raise your hands. Ain't had one child raise their hand. Who's going to smoke marijuana? And a third of them raise their hands at the beginning of my presentation, because I'm designed to do that. Who's going to smoke marijuana when Mr. Smith leaves today? Raise your hands. Middle school. Not one hand go up. Who's going to use alcohol when Mr. Smith leaves today? Raise your hands. I've never had a middle school children raise their hand. Now, when we get to high school, more hands go up. Not all the time, but they go up. When I get to juvenile, more hands go up. Watch this. When I get to adult prisons, even more hands go up. Now, when I get to the old men in prison, even more hands. So the older we get, the more stupid we get.
Wow. I want to conclude this with three things. And I promise everyone, thank you everybody for sticking with us this past the hour, but I'm sure I told you did not want to miss this show tonight. I told you I was bringing the man with the message and the man with the plan tonight. So if you could indulge us for a few more minutes, three things I want to do. I want to quote something you said in a book. I want to just you to talk briefly about the plethora of things you guys did under Street Soldiers, because it's very impressive. And then I want you to give a closing message for the young men who are watching this. But you say in the book, brothers are not afraid of dying, they are afraid of living.
Absolutely.
Talk a little bit.
We are driven by our unconscious and subconscious minds. Mm-hmm. And we too tough to let people see us hurt on the outside, so we hurt on the inside. Mm-hmm. And quietly, we're waiting for somebody to take us out. And that's why when some of us do what we do and we keep barking at the police, we ain't afraid of dying. We're afraid of going out here to pick up a book, because opening that book is just like trying to lift 5,000 pounds with your baby finger. Mm-hmm. We don't want to discipline ourselves to do what's necessary to make it, despite all the pain in our society. We don't want to go and look at all the ugly things that happened to us in history. But also when we do that, we find a lot of good things that were done to us in history. My brother was one of those, very talented, but he kept putting himself in harm's way. He was always fighting people because he was good with his hands. He got stabbed a couple of times. He had been shot a couple of times. Brother, do you really want to live? So that's truth to that. Brothers are not afraid of dying, afraid of living. Because in order to live out here, these brothers in the joint, brother, I'm telling you, brothers trust the big brother on this. Does a brother look good at 63? Just a little bit. Come on, brothers. There's a reason for that. When I got to prison, the first priority that I took on was to take good care of myself. And I'm coming out of here. And you get up and you work out every day, man. You work out, walk around the track, do exercise, exercise your brain. Got up every morning before everybody else because it's quiet. I could meditate, but I would read. They can't take that away from me, man. And of course, if people are interested in getting my book, go to my website. My website is my name, walterdsmith.com. Walter D as in David Smith.com. And just put it on your coffee table right next to your Bible and let them babies read the book. If a baby read the book, and incentivize the child when they get done with the book. And if I could ever get rich, because that's what I would do, I'd plant a $50 bill in every book that I give that baby. And damn it, if they don't open it, they won't get that 50. Yeah. But you can believe the ones that do open it, and when they smile and see that 50, then they're going to go out and do the same thing for somebody else.
Exactly. When I was looking at what you guys, I mean, all of the accomplishment on the Street Soldiers, I thought about the Black Panthers. And I just respect so much. I mean, from dictionary giveaways to what is this? Pedestrian safety to food giveaways to access to DNA testing. I mean, you guys, you talk about giving back. You talk about making things possible for people who again, might not otherwise have the opportunity to have the things or have the, have the things that they need to survive out here. Talk a little bit about the vision you had and why all of this was important, because it just seemed like it just snowballed, and the more people needed, the more you were able to provide.
Brother, you too deep. You too deep, because let's go with this, man. No, once I got on the radio, man, my objective was to serve. Malcolm served. I'm a carbon copy of Malcolm X. I read his book cover to cover as soon as I got to prison. I studied etymology. I studied the dictionary just like Malcolm, cover to cover, just like Malcolm X. Dr. King was a scholar. We've had numerous scholars aside from them, but particularly Malcolm, because Honorable Elijah Muhammad took that brother and helped fix him. Brother Cecil's a Muslim. Salam alaikum to all my Muslim brothers out there. I was real close to the Islamic community. I have an African name, not a Muslim name. Elijah Pianki is my African name. The name of my business is 25th Dynasty, named after Pharaoh Pianki of the 25th Dynasty. Go study it. I'm not going to tell you. Study it. That ain't even in the book. Got to go do your research. But the story that meant the most to me, because when we got on the radio, yes, our job was to serve. And I can't remember a lot of the stuff that we did. But as soon as we got on the radio, you're right, brother. We went around and we cleaned communities. We had a charter school that was having difficulties opening. So Brother Cecil and I and a few other brothers, we went in and helped the school open. We helped them paint. We helped them clean. We did all the things that was necessary to be done. We had a Muslim, an Arab, a Muslim wanted to open a liquor store in a depraved neighborhood in Columbus community. Man for the movement went down and said, no, brother, not going to open no liquor store. We got enough problems down here. And they respected our wishes. They did not open that liquor store. We gave shoes away. We had someone call in the show and said they hadn't eaten in 4 days. So I went home that night and I went through the cupboards in the refrigerator, calling myself getting food. But no, I went on to the grocery store and I bought over $150 worth of food. By the way, the money that the community gave us, because we had a lot of people contribute, and every dollar that was given us was accounted for. We kept a ledger. And our books were open to everybody. Matter of fact, we still have money in that account from when I was on radio. Wow. It's still sitting there. Not a lot, but it ain't mine. I'm okay. Right. It's the community's money, okay? So when I went to that family's home and I got there and I went up to the sister's door and I had bags of food with me and I knocked on the door and the baby said, "We gonna eat soup tonight?" I said, "No," because she had already told me that they love spaghetti. And they love garlic bread. And I can't remember the other thing. I said, no, you all gonna have spaghetti, garlic bread, and I forgot what else it was. And those babies just sit there and smile as we're bringing in the groceries to feed the family. But the story that meant the most to me was the one where the grandmother got ran over by a drunk driver. And this is, see, a lot of these people get on these radio shows and they talk the stuff. We did stuff. And then I'm going to tell you why they took me off. That's why I'm glad you got me here. Because it'd be the first time I get a chance to talk about it publicly. But the story that meant the most, a grandmother had moved into an apartment complex, 5 lanes of highway. She rode the bus, never drove a car in her life. So she got off the bus and was crossing those 5 lanes and somebody mowed her down. And this is what street soldiers did. So the family called street soldiers. Because I have a line. This is another thing that a lot of radio, I don't know nobody in radio did what I'm about to say now. Had a hotline. And we even told the mayor, don't have police listening to that.
Right. Right.
And we gave a phone number for people to call. We checked 2 people in to full-time treatment. Everybody saying they didn't have no beds then, but we found people that called into my radio show when we talk about drug addiction, saying they had a problem and crying and bearing their soul, got their phone number, or they called that number, and we went and checked them all the way in for full service treatment. But when his grandmother tried to walk across those 5 lanes and that family called me, we had them come in the studio. One of the sisters is a writer for the Huffington Post, or she had been a contributing writer for the Huffington Post. She flew in from California. We had other relatives come in from Kentucky. And then we had the base, some from Cincinnati and out of the Columbus area, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, I know she came in from California and someone came in from either Southern Kentucky or Cincinnati. But the whole family came on our radio show. Then we went in front of city council. Now, this is one of the reasons they took my black ass off radio. We showed up at city council at 4 o'clock. The meeting starts at 5, something like that. We signed in. They address all these people that come to city council. 75 of us with family. A lot of people had to leave. But at 9:30, city council still ain't said nothing to the family. So when they addressed the family, they asked what the family speaking. I said, no, councilman, I'm going to speak on behalf of the family. And y'all know I'm going to talk about this on the radio Sunday. You know that, right? This family done sit here all day, and you knew that the grandmother got mowed down crossing all those lanes. So the radio station have a mailbox at the radio station, but the radio station called me that Monday because we went to city council meeting on a Monday. Oh, yeah, they called me on a Thursday, said you got mail. I said, well, just put it in my box. They said, no, Walter, you got to come down and get this letter. So I go get the letter. It's a letter from the city because they know I'm going to talk about it on the radio. And here's what I learned. Okay. The letter was from the city saying that they already done went out and did an investigation and an assessment of the area, and they're going to make modifications because they know I'm going to talk about it on the radio. So I read the letter on the radio. Now, y'all know we're going to hold y'all accountable. They spent $750,000. They get that nigga off the radio. I turned into an investigative radio station. It took me a while to figure it out.
Right.
I'm fixing stuff. Even if it's the city council. And I still love them. But damn it, do your job.
Right.
Mother walking across all them lanes, they went in and put sidewalks in. They put crosswalks in. They put traffic lights up. And watch this, get that nigga off radio. Took me a while to figure it out. They had given me $240,000 to work with youth. And I'm good at what I do. $120,000 for the first year and $120 for the next year. 60 to me and 60 for a budget. Do whatever I want to do with it. After 5 months, your program ain't working. You put me in the worst schools in the city, and you only gonna give me 5 months. Who got in your ass? That's what I asked them. Here's what they took me off the radio for. First time publicly saying it. It's in the book. By the way, I kept the title Street Soldier because Jerry Revish titled the book From the Hood to the Good. My mentor, my protege, my guardian angel, everything to me because he's the one that freed me. But I kept Street Soldier because I should be on every 60 Minutes, all these black folk with programs on radio and TV. If I come on the radio and reduce the homicides in Columbus, Ohio to the lowest number the city has seen in 20 years, and every time they talk about homicides, I call the mayor's office, the police department, don't nobody return my call. It's proof positive they ain't trying to fix it. So here's what they took me off the radio for. We had a bunch of the female politicians because this energy for women is just phenomenal out here. They came during one of the major campaigns back then in about 06 and had a fired up presentation at our Dr. King Center. And I was fired up. And when I'm sitting there taking notes, I said, my show tomorrow night's going to be black only, white not allowed. Black only, white not allowed. Oh, man, did I mess up to them? Or that's what they said. And that's one of the reasons they took me off. But the real reason over the years that they took me off, I got in their pocketbook. But black only, white not allowed. And here's all we want to do. And this is what we still haven't done in our community. And I'll close on this one on my end. I ain't never seen Jewish people call black people and say, come help us with our stuff. I ain't never seen Irish people call us and say, come help us with our stuff. I ain't never seen Italians say, come help us with our stuff. You want to stop white cops from killing black people, take their asses out of our communities. I'm all over the country. There are communities where you don't see black policemen in white communities in this country because they don't allow it. So don't keep telling me you're trying to fix the problem. When you got if you want to stop white people from killing us, then take them out of the community. At least balance it out. Columbus, Ohio is 25% black. Then make the police department reflect that. Coming home one evening, I watched a guy on a motorcycle. I don't know if he had done something wrong, but I pulled over just to watch. 8 white cops showed up. Not one black police officer showed up. What the hell else they gonna do besides police us or kill us or whatever? So I said, black only, white not allowed, which means this. Do what we did in prison. Brothers got together, man, we educated ourselves. We came up with a value system. We came up with principles, and we practiced them. We worked with the youngsters in prison. Now, once we do that, now we can invite the white people to the table because we got ourselves together. An example that I use in the book when I talk about that, let's say that my wife and I have a sister, and I didn't have sisters, all boys, but let's say that my sister got addicted to drugs and we need to check her in. Now, her family got money and my family got money, but everybody want me to pay for it. Well, before we can go and deal with everybody else and whether they're going to pay for anything or not, guess who I got to sit down with? And I've never been married, but I got to talk to my wife before I go and talk to anybody in my family or her family. And that's the problem that we have. We bring all these people to the table and they convolute the discussion and what we need to do. And it ain't no shade towards white people because my great-great-granddad on my father's side is white. So I know my history well. I don't have no racism in me. I love everybody because we all one and the same people. But when I ask for black only, white not allowed, and I broke it down in the book, I ain't gonna tell y'all that. If you want to know, go read the book because it's well defined what my purpose was in saying that. Why are you gonna take me off the radio when you got other people like the guy that used to be on Fox that used to be on there? I can't remember his name. Got kicked off for messing with women. Bill O'Reilly. Now he say what the hell he want to say. Sean Hannity say what the hell he want to say. They say whatever they want. Oh no, here's the point that I want to make with that. I'm on the road. They would always get so-called black leaders and say, now y'all kill each other the way y'all kill each other. Why don't y'all do something about that? Well, when I call them and tell them, well, I am doing something about that, and I call the Negroes and say, I am doing something about that because I'm the one that say black only, white not allowed, I'll take that on because I'll get my brothers together and I'll teach my brothers how important it is as a former gangster with credibility, how important it is for us to stop killing one another. And that's what I really set out to do when I left prison. Save us from us, my brother.
Man, it is so much meat in this discussion tonight that I'm actually going to have to go back and digest this broadcast. But for those of you that have stuck with us and joined us tonight, this has been a special, now 90-minute special tonight with my brother Walter Smith. Again, like I said, a general when it comes to saving black men and boys in this community. And I wanted him on. I heard just a little bit of his story on Sirius XM on a show, and I called him up and he said, yeah, I'll do your show. Didn't know me from Adam. I appreciate it. So tonight's show, again, is dedicated to young men at Atlanta Youth Development Center. In a minute, I'm going to let Brother Walter give you the final closing words to these young men. But for those of you that join me, follow me on Facebook, follow Brother Walter on Facebook, follow me on YouTube, hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, share these videos. Again, this is Conversations with Michael Carson. This is a platform by and for black men. I don't say that with any hesitancy. I want us on this show to talk about issues and things and bring people to this platform so that we can have discussions, so we can have conversations. Everything's not going to be deep all the time. Some of the stuff is going to be light, but the stuff that need to be said, the stuff that need to be done, that's what this show is about. And I'm privileged and honored to sit in this seat and have men like Brother Walter on tonight. So the last voice you'll hear is Brother Walter, and then we're going to close the broadcast, and he and I are going to chat for a little bit on the back end off the live feed. But again, thank you for sticking with us tonight on this important, I think it's important. This is an important broadcast tonight, and this will be one that will definitely go down for me personally as one of the ones that I've just enjoyed thoroughly. This conversation I've enjoyed thoroughly with, I'll call him General Walter Smith. Your last words to the young brothers who are watching this broadcast.
I want my young brothers on the inside to do what I did when I got to prison. I traveled around the world. And then when I went around the world once, I went around the world again. I started in Africa, Asia, Australia, Antarctica. Went to Europe, North America, South America, 7 continents. And if you study enough, you'll find out that there really isn't 7 continents because Europe is not a continent. Because continent have to be surrounded by 3/4 water. There's another one of those misnomers, which means a not so truth. But go to all 7 continents: Africa, Antarctica, Asia, Australia, Europe, North America, South America. While I was in prison, I went around the world at least 5 times. I've read the Bible cover to cover now 18 times in my life, cover to cover. The Holy Quran, 15 times, cover to cover. When I finish, I go to the other one, cover to cover. I had done that multiple times before I left prison. So there's your first instruction from the bruiser, from your brother, Walter, street soldier, Smith. Pick up a book. Reading will teach you anything you want to know and take you anywhere you want to go. Travel around the world. Then you work out every opportunity that you get. Yes, they took weights out of most prisons. Then you do your push-ups, you do your pull-ups, you do your chin-ups, you get out, you walk, you run, you jog. Put basketball down, because y'all end up wanting to fight because it's physical. Basketball down. We say it in the joint until we had brothers to where they respected each other. Practice respect. And finally, you all get in touch with this brother, whoever's in charge of that facility, and I will donate books to that one facility for every resident in there. I'll make a donation so that they have the tool. And all I want you to do when you get done reading it, you write me a one-page essay. My address will be in there, and I'll write you back after you've done what I've asked you to do, because I'll guarantee you, if you read that book cover to cover, and then you read, and then you work out a minimum 3 days a week, you set a goal and a plan your work and work your plan on what you're going to do to get out of prison, take care of your loved ones, especially your mother, children, whatever it is. Do right. When you write me, tell me what your goal is. I help you tweak it. And that's what I'll do for you, my personal self. Those of you out here in the free world, check me out on Facebook as the brother indicated. You can go on my website, walterdsmith.com. I have a phone number you can call and leave a message, 614-476-9960, 614-476-9960. I'm available for speaking. You don't have to worry about paying me to get there. I'll provide my own transportation. You do have to give me something, and I ain't going to beat you up for that, but I'll come and do a wonderful job. And finally, support this brother in what he does. This is, and I don't fluff people's feathers. I give credit where credit is due. And Clay Kane did an outstanding job when he had me on his show. Had another sister that did a fine job that had me on her show after being on Clay's. But brother, listen, you knocked the ball all the way out the park. I'm proud. I'm impressed. I thank you, brother Michael Carson, because you nailed it. No one's dug in this deep and had me on the roll the way that you had me, hit on all the power points. And if people out there that are in a position of power and you really want to do something to save black men in America, you really want a solution to black men getting killed by police, I tell you what it is, brothers, just shut the hell up. Swallow your pride. Some I learned in Islam. Humble yourself. Even when you know you could take that person out if they didn't have that gun, but with all that firepower them cops have on their hip, whether you're guilty or not, swallow your pride, man. Shut the hell up. Don't let them people kill you. I took care of my mother. Last 6 years of her life, I laid that queen to rest, and I did everything. I picked everything from head to toe. Her casket, did it all. I designed and made her program, everything. And that's the thing that inspired me to get out of prison. Who gonna take care of my mama? Who gonna take care of your mama? Get yourself together in there. Love you. Thank you, brother.
Appreciate you, Brother Walter. Thank you so much.
Thank
For
you,
those
everyone.
of you, again, that are joining, thank you for joining us tonight on Conversations with Michael Carson. We'll be back here next week with another exciting show. We got a young entrepreneur who found himself in a predicament, but he still pressed forward. And now he has a successful brand here in Georgia. So join us here next Thursday night at 7 p.m. right here on Facebook and YouTube. Continued blessings to you all. I'm going to talk to Brother Walter on the back end of this. Take care.
Take